Okay, so this is a 99 Espresso, not a RT. It's just got a paint job on it. But we had this guy, so not that long ago. The embarrassing thing, we took the car up to get it inspected. Well, the original alternator decided it was done. So it actually died in the inspection. Yeah, and they had to push it out in the parking lot. Embarrassing. So anyway, I went to AutoZone because I didn't have time to go to the Junkyard at the time, or in that week rather. So I went and bought this guy. This is a refurbished alternator. It was $100. I think it's a Duralast or something. I'm not really sure of the brand, but it was like the cheapest one they had. And maybe that's part of the problem too. But I've heard bad things about these remanufactured, from not lasting that long to also the stupid whining sound these things make, the bearings. Or maybe it's even something to do with the brushes, but this thing is annoying. The car is sitting there idling and there's just this, not only a whining sound, but there's almost like a, it's not like metal scraping, but it's just this terrible sound. The one way I can describe it is almost like a wet shopping cart, like the wheels on a store floor. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just kind of like squeaky, but it's not like a belt chirp. Anyway, the bearings are annoying in this thing. It's loud, and it worked. It did work, so I'll give credit, but it hasn't been in the car that long. It's only got like 1,000 miles on it. And yeah, it's already oily, but that's because I had to touch all over it and everything, because, well, it's jammed up in there and you can't really see in there. So yeah, but this thing is annoying, and I've seen several different videos of aftermarket alternators making this same stupid whining noise. So what is my solution to this problem? Well, I'm not going to throw it away because it's still good. There's no reason to pitch it. I'm going to save it because I have another Neon out in the street, and that's my daily. This is my project. It's actually rattle canned, believe it or not, and it's all wet sanded. But we're going to wet sand it again, and we're going to take all the trim stuff back off, bumper covers, whatnot, and we're going to clear coat the entire thing. Because why not? We're having a little bit of fun with paint experimenting. The paint was completely shot. Anyway. So yeah, my solution was going to the Junkyard, and I bought an alternator from a 70,000 mile 98 coupe. It was there because the previous owner ran it low in oil and locked up the motor, so I figured it was a good alternator. It was, you know, untested as is, and I paid, I want to say 30 bucks for it. I don't know, something like that, but it wasn't bad. Little family-owned yard near me. But yeah, originally why I didn't go and just buy a used one is because, you know, it's like, well, if I can get a reman, and it's kind of hard to get up in there, I mean, not terribly difficult, but you know, if you're going to spend that time, that effort, you might as well just put in a refurbed or new. And so that's what I did. Well, I couldn't stand it. It's just so annoying, squeaky and loud. I don't care if it's on my daily because, well, it's actually a piece of junk. And not to say this one isn't really crap either, but this one's actually seriously in really good shape. The only problem was the paint. The body's immaculate otherwise. It's not rusty or anything, and it's nice and straight. So anyway, also the easiest way to take it, actually no, what we have left to do rather, is I got the alternator all tightened up. You got this little mini bracket under here. It's this little, it's got 3 bolts. I know you really can't see, and I don't know how to turn on the flash on this thing. But there's a little tiny bracket in there with 3 bolts, 15s, and then you can take that out. Then you got to loosen that big 15mm bolt at the bottom of your alternator. There's a 15mm nut at the top. You can probably see it through here, maybe. No, you cannot. But that's what holds it through the top. And then there's an adjuster screw over here on the side of the motor for the bracket. And then a good way to access is by taking out the big old air box. I left the thing up here. The one stud actually came out. But that's where the ground strap goes, so I'll just put that back in there and pretend I never saw it. This side, actually, the nut came off like it should have. But anyway, we'll put that all back together, no big deal. Then you gotta put your, you know, air cleaner back in, your air intake tube, and then your little, I would say beauty cover, but that's actually an air intake. It just hooks to the face of that. But yeah, my solution to that is just buying a used one, because I'm tired of listening to this really loud whining. And I guess it kind of sounds like, in a way, like a supercharger. If you want to go that far. But it's just annoying. And so, but yeah, I did the right thing, and I got an untested alternator, because, you know, that's just how we roll. But it's at 70,000 miles. But then you got to think about, too, this car only had 96,000 on it, and the alternator died. So is that something I should be concerned about? Probably, but it's all right. We'll worry about that when we get there. Another issue with the car right now is the radiator. Not the cap. The other one actually has a broken radiator. This one just has a small leak where the thermostat is down here. Not that long ago, I was trying to tighten up a belt squeak from this guy, the serpentine belt, the V belt, and when I was raising up on it, you know, with the breaker bar, I didn't realize, but I was pushing up on this hose here, and yeah, I busted this whole thing in half. So I went to the junkyard and I bought this plastic housing, which you can actually get them new, but it was cheap enough. This was like, I bought it in a pile of crap for like $10. So, and it's just 2 little 10mm bolts, I believe. But yeah, there's a little thermostat under there, and it's leaking. Just very, very tiny. It's got seepage, I guess you could say. So what I'm gonna do is go, and this time, I mean, I always go buy used parts, but in this case, we're just gonna go to AutoZone. They have a couple in stock. So, like the right thing, the other one in the street overheats, and it's not a head gasket. Well, supposedly it didn't, but I don't think the temp gauge is working right. And so the radiator cracked. The hose even like slid back on the radiator. So one on the street, I'm just gonna play it safe. I'm gonna get that Junkyard radiator, and then I'm gonna put a brand new thermostat in. This one, again, it's leaking, so I think it's okay, but it is an old thermostat, so we'll play it safe and just put a freaking $7 thermostat in it, because they're cheap enough. So anyhow, yep, this is the fun I have when my parents don't quite understand, like, it's working, why would you take that out? Yes, good, I mean, good point, I mean, really. But I can't stand listening to it, because this is the nice neon. This one doesn't have a tick in the engine. This is a good running little 2.0, and I like the sound of it. So it's all bone stock, but yeah, I guess you could call me a ricer for the paint job. Anyway, yeah, refurbished alternators, I hate them. And I was even watching a YouTube video, again, several videos on this, but there were even people talking about, well, I went and I bought an even more expensive one, figuring maybe that I wouldn't have this stupid whining sound. And yeah, even the more expensive refurbs are making noise. And maybe you can get new, but I didn't see them anyway. So refurb it is, really. And they're annoying, so... And I think the second gen Neon has the same exact alternator. I mean, it would only make sense as it's a 2.0 liter. So, and it was even, yeah, 2005, which is second gen, so I would have to imagine it's the same alternator. And I mean, man, the Cirrus had the 2.4 actually, I think. I know in a few years you could get the Stratus with the 2.0, but anyway, I bet even the 2.4 alternator is probably the same. So the PT Cruiser, which is the 2.4, I bet you could go get an alternator out of one of those and probably put it in. I'm sure it's the same one. Anyhow, this is yeah, I just can't stand it. It's cheap enough to just go buy a junkyard alternator, and in this case, these cars, well, the first gens are getting rarer, but you know, they're still out there. So, and whatever car you got, I'm sure for the most part, you could just go to a local salvage yard and buy a used one. The only problem with that is, you know, you don't know if it's functional or not. And in some junkyards, it's an as-is deal. It's not a, you test it and you find out if it works or not, bring it back. The one I was at, they said, we usually, you know, test them first. And so we have a pile of them in the back. But they said, if you want that one in specific, because you said it had 70,000, if you want that one in specific, we'll let you take it. We'll mark it and you just bring it back. Well, I waited forever. I didn't bring it back like I should have. So you know. But it works, so no loss here. But yeah, I mean, I waited like 2 or 3 months before putting this in because I was busy working on my other one. So anyway, fun, you know what I'm saying?